Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first and what I would hope would be a long and ongoing series of full-length React projects here on DSPReacts. I'm Phil, also known as Darkside Phil or DSP on the internet. I'm a 15-year content creator, and over the years, people have always asked me, hey, will you react to this, react to that? And I was very reluctant to it. Finally, people convinced me in the last year, and I decided it went so well last year, why not start a whole channel to do it? And this is actually the first time I'm doing a full-length React project, meaning we're about to watch a whole documentary, and I'm going to give you my take on it. I'm going to be pausing, adding supplemental information as a 15-year content creator on that situation. And also, in particular, the subject matter today, ProJared. I actually have some interesting interactions with this guy over the years, which we're going to discuss, all right? So, I hope you will enjoy this show. If you're here live, this is actually a marathon-style stream I'm doing on the channel. It's the first of many, hopefully, that I will be doing in the future, and we're going to do these about once a month. It's an interactive thing. People, as you're going to see, people are going to be talking to me in the chat. There are going to be shout-outs for contributions. It's going to be an interactive experience, not just me kind of reacting, but also having a lot of input during the course of the show, all right? I'm excited for this. I've done a few of these last year. I really enjoyed doing them, and it's the first time on this new channel, DSPReacts, so fingers crossed it goes smoothly, all right? Now, this will be broken up into parts, so if you're watching this on demand on the channel, I'm going to try to go for hour-long segments. Typically, whenever I react to a documentary like this, my react ends up being double the length of the documentary. This particular documentary clocks in around 90 minutes, so mine likely will be around 3 hours, but it depends on how much I have to say, how much interaction we get with the live audience here, because they're going to have input, okay? You're going to see, for example, if we hit support goals, I'll be doing silly things like blowing bubbles and putting on hats and stuff. And, you know, that's all part of the experience here as being a full-time streamer, all right? Just don't let it distract you from the seriousness of this project, all right? Now, also, you can be an interactive part of this project. If you're watching this, you're like, man, I really like this. This is something I'd like to see Phil do more of, and maybe I'd like to even have some control over it. Well, consider becoming a member of the channel, because it's actually the channel members here on DSPReacts that will be voting to determine the big picture React content that I do in the future. All right? Thanks. And thanks for any other support as well during today's live stream, or if you watch this on demand, consider maybe a super thanks, a tip, or becoming a member as well. Okay? Now, ProJared. Let's have a little bit of a quick discussion about this man and this content creator before I start with the documentary, all right? What do I know about ProJared? Well, not that much, all right? So here's the deal. I, back in the day, before I ever made a single video for YouTube, was a fan of the Angry Video Game Nerd. Yes, we're talking like back 2005, 2006, 2007. And the Angry Video Game Nerd became this big cultural phenomenon on the internet. I loved his content, and he actually had been teamed up with a website called ScrewAttack.com to distribute his content to the internet. So I became a fan of ScrewAttack, and ScrewAttack was a website where daily they put out skits, game reviews, countdowns. They had a podcast that they did, I believe it was once a week. I could be wrong about that, among any other things, okay? One of the things that they eventually started doing was a daily news show called Hard News, and I actually became a fan of the show over the years, and I watched it as various different hosts kind of became the news anchor for gaming news on Hard News every day. Personally, I think it was Destin was the guy who I watched the most doing Hard News. And he's gone off now to do his own thing on the internet. And he's actually very popular as a content creator. You give him a look if you want. I think it's Destin Legary or something like that. He was a very good guy as a news guy, delivery guy. But basically, here's what happened. Okay, over the years, I became a content creator. Starting in 2008, I just started doing it full time in 2010. When I did, I kind of stopped following all the other people who I was interested in on the internet, including the Angry Video Game Nerd, and yes, including ScrewAttack. Stopped watching them. Apparently, at some point during this time period when I was becoming a content creator, ProJared, who was just known as Jared back then, I believe, became the news anchor on the Hard News show for ScrewAttack. And I think this was actually during one of their most popular times of viewership. You know, they were still paired with the Angry Video Game Nerd, so they were getting views based off of that. They had a lot of daily content, and things were growing. I think that at one point they even started that Death Battle show, and that was getting tons of attention on the internet. So Jared kind of became almost a pseudo-celebrity because he was the host of the news show that so many people were watching every day on ScrewAttack.com. Okay. Interestingly enough, I don't know much else about the guy from that era. Okay. I guess there's a whole story where there was a falling out between him and ScrewAttack. He eventually went on to do his own content on the internet, and he became independently popular. My only actual interaction that I had with the guy in person was that in 2013, I attended a convention called ScrewAttack Gaming Convention in Texas. I was actually a featured guest as a content creator. Well, the main guest at that show was ProJared, because he had actually started making independent content on YouTube at that time after having left ScrewAttack and was getting popular. Now, who's going to be the main viewer base for his content? ScrewAttack fans, right? So why not have him as the featured guest at the ScrewAttack Gaming Convention? So I saw him there at the convention. He had his own panel, all his own content. I didn't know much about him. I'd never seen his videos. I didn't attend his panels. I had my own stuff going on. I had my own booth, my own panel, my own, I was actually part of the Iron Man of Gaming tournament that they had there that year. So anyway, basically, I didn't know much about him, but I knew he was there. I saw him in person, never spoke with him or nothing like that. And that was really the last time I had any interaction with the guy until many years later. Because as you guys know, sadly, my reputation on the internet got soiled over time, okay? People started to not like my content as much. I became kind of the running joke of the internet with the "this is how you don't play" video series, making fun of my poor levels of gameplay and raging at games and making fun of game developers. And you could go down the rabbit hole on that as much as you want. But basically, my prominence went boo on YouTube. And eventually, I just became this big running joke. Now, I don't know this guy, ProJared. I didn't even talk with him at the convention that I was at, that he was physically at. I believe I want to say it was in 2017. He made a tweet about me, all right, out of nowhere. That was like, well, I was on the internet today and I accidentally stumbled down the rabbit hole of dark side-filled drama. Ha! Well, I'm sorry I did that or whatever. I don't remember the exact wording of the tweet. But basically, he's taking a stab at me, all right? And he's insulting me, basically saying that, drama and rabbit hole and, that was a big mistake to try to look into dark side Phil or whatever. Now, the thing is, this happens all the time. People are constantly taking jabs at me and stabs at me. I don't know why, because I don't even know. I've never said a word about this guy. I don't know anything about him. But he decides he's going to take a jab at me, probably just get a rise out of his audience for the day. Ha, 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 right? So one of the reasons I think people want me to react to this particular documentary about ProJared is that years later, ProJared had his own internet controversy and infamous happenings. He was accused of many different things, of which will be addressed in this documentary, I'm sure, so I don't really need to go through that. But at that point, he was the laughing stock of the internet. This guy had photos leaked of him that were incredibly embarrassing, people accusing him of wrongdoing left, right, up, and down. And it was just so funny, because this is the same guy who had basically insulted me for no reason years earlier. So I clapped back at him, and I quote tweeted his original tweet about me years ago. And I said, turned on the internet today, and literally all anyone was talking about was the drama around ProJared. So basically it was a direct response tweet parodying his own tweet from years before. It went viral. People loved it. They were liking it. They were sharing the tweet. And so basically I made a couple other tweets. One other tweet I made was, well, if you're going to fail on the internet, fail because your content sucks. Don't fail because of a shortcoming of your character. Be careful about what you put out there. That was definitely spoken from experience, okay? And then the last tweet I put out there was basically a picture of my most embarrassing moment from 2016. We're not going to get into that today. I'm sure you can find it on the internet. And basically said the following. Something, I'm paraphrasing here. If you have done anything worse than what you're seeing here in this tweet, quit the internet right now. Quit being a content creator. Just give up. Because here I am, and I'm still here. I'm still going. I'm still successful. And I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to be canceled. I'm going to continue on. And you will be the one that won't be around anymore, and you're going to have to live with it. All right? Essentially, I challenge the internet. If you've done worse than me, just quit now, because I'm going to still be here. You're not. How are you going to ever live that down? Okay? What's funny is, I would say the first two tweets definitely were about ProJared. The third one was not. The third one was a generalized tweet. But a lot of people apparently took the third tweet and said, that was about ProJared. You slammed ProJared while you really got him. And I was like, no, I don't think it was. It was more a generalized challenge to everyone out there who hates on me constantly. Look out when your skeletons in your closet all of a sudden get exposed to the internet. Okay? So, the funny part about all that is, after all that happened, I think it was like 2019, I guess, eventually, a lot of the accusations about ProJared were either cleared up or he basically had receipts proving a lot of the things were false, all right? So, good on him. And we're going to get to the bottom of this today. I'm going into this documentary with an open mind. I'm not going in with any preconceived notions of who he is, what he did, or anything like that. I know how this goes. I've watched other documentaries. We got to go into this with a totally open mind, trying to believe that this guy could be innocent. He could be guilty. We don't know. I don't even know exactly what he was accused of yet. We got to what we're watching this for, okay? But my goal here is to determine what actually happened and to try to give this guy a fair shake, even though he didn't give me one. You know, back in the day, he was nasty to me before I ever even said a word about him. I want to give this guy a fair chance. But the funny part was, over the years, people said to me, hey, Phil, don't you think it's time to apologize to ProJared? Isn't it time for you to finally say you were wrong? And I'm like, wrong about what? I didn't accuse him of anything. I didn't make a video about it. I didn't bandwagon when everyone else was railroading this guy. I was far from it. I made a few tweets. That was it. A casual reference to the tweets in a video or a podcast I would do. What am I apologizing for? I didn't even accuse him or nothing or say anything negative about the guy. I literally just made a couple referential tweets, one referencing his insult to me from years earlier that was unsolicited and unwarranted, and essentially challenging the internet saying, hey, man, beware of the skeletons in your own closets because they're coming out and I'm still here, okay? So, I definitely feel like today will be an interesting day because we're going to go through this documentary and see exactly what happened, get to the bottom of it, hopefully, and hopefully by the end of today, I'll be able to make a determination, all right? Now, I don't even know if this guy is still making content. I would assume he is. I would think that if he did clear up all the accusations, or at least enough for his audience, he's definitely still making content. And I hope he is, because I don't want to see anyone on the internet get canceled because of something behind the scenes that never should have been made public. And it sounds like that's exactly what's happened with this guy. All right? So, let's do it. Well, I do have one quick thing here to check, and then we're going to get started here. I just want to be sure. That's something I need to shout out here. So, all right, it's a $1 tip from Anonymous Tipper. I always feel bad about what happened in this situation. ProJared is legit, super talented, knowledgeable, and funny. No offense. Why would I take offense? I mean, hey, I've literally never seen a single piece of ProJared's content. Not one. So, you know, if you like his content, good on you. Enjoy it, okay? All right. Without further ado, let's get started, everyone. Lies, Deception, and ProJared. Here we go. And let me know how the volume sounds as we hit play here, all right?
Jared was a channel that, like many of his contemporaries, should have slowly faded out of the algorithm.
Hold on.
A path that he was well on his way on. From working at ScrewAttack to going independent, doing game reviews, his channel had already peaked. But for a few days in May of 2019, his name was plastered throughout the internet with news of him reaching millions of viewers and infecting the dialogue of content creators both small and monolithic. There was an interest in him like never before. For any person working in content creation, this was a dream, but the context was a nightmare. Rapid fire, there were various accusations coming from his wife accusing him of adultery, other sources accusing him of soliciting photos to underage fans.
Oh, okay, see? Already, I didn't know that. I knew that I guess his wife had accused him of doing wrongdoing. I didn't know anything about soliciting photos to underage people. Like, this is all new to me. So, okay, man, this is more serious actually than I ever thought it was. There's one thing if, okay, you know, you're having problems with your significant other. There's another thing if you're you know, charges of pedophilia are pretty darn serious in any context, right? Hold on one second. What I'm trying to do is stretch my camera out a little more. There we go. I will make sure it's fitting the border correctly. I think now it fits a little better. Shout out to Willow. Willow just became a channel member. Thank you so much for joining, Willow. I appreciate that. That's up to 55. Awesome. Like I said, I'm hoping hopefully by the end of today we can maybe hit 60. That'd be awesome for the channel. Thank you, Willow. Okay, here we go.
And even the intensity of coverage on him and the ever-changing situation was a point of interest.
Oh, is that? "You've been lied to" re-upload, because I think that might have been the video where he came out and he countered everything, right? It was called the "You've Been Lied To" video. Okay.
Posts attacking Jared's intrinsic features became common, as all were witnessing these attacks.
See, now hold on a second here. Look at this weird shit. And this is what gets me, okay? What the fuck? All right, even if everything is true, why are people doing this? Look how they draw him. Disrespects women, cheats on his lady, you know, attacks and blocks his wife online. What is that? It's a meme. Yeah, I hate that shit. It's one thing if you're going to like, okay, we're going to expose him, he's a bad guy. Let's all just destroy his looks. And like, look at that in the bottom left. That pisses me off that they made him. Oh, actually, my logo is blocking it. You're going to say that that's what he looks like? A worm? Come on, man. Listen, I hate to say it. Most of the people who attack people's looks online like this, you guys aren't no spring chickens out there either. All right? We're all born in the bodies that we're born into. We can't help how we look. You know, I personally, I think I'm one of the ugliest dudes on this planet. I really believe that. But luckily, I have a wife who doesn't think so. All right? But that's not fair. It's one, okay, attack him for what he's done. Don't attack him for the guy's looks. That's bullshit. Because I'm sure everyone who criticizes ProJared's looks is a supermodel out there with all John Stamoses and Brad Pitts, right? Get the hell out of here.
Him flowing at the same rate of him gripping a very...
Look at that. Oh, come on. You see what I mean? The Momo meme and his face...
monetizable body
what is the
part in
eggplant?
various positions. This endless scroll of commentary left by those that felt justified in tearing him down came into question when Jared, several months after the controversy, released a video that rewrote it all.
Some individuals circulated serious
Here we go.
accusations. They are false.
Which is why it's a story that must be covered in the rise and fall of ProJared.
All right. We're going to get to the bottom of this shit. By the way, I just received a $20 tip from 1 Minute Man. Thank you very much, 1 Minute Man. Daily 1 Minute Man is a, for those who don't know, because maybe, you know, you're only on DSPReacts, maybe you don't really check out my content on DSP Gaming. 1 Minute Man is a very long-time supporter of my content on a daily basis. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, he's always here and he supports me. I really appreciate that. Thank you, 1 Minute Man, for the very generous tip. Let's get him on the leaderboard, because that is the biggest tip of the day so far. That's going to jump us up to 43 bucks. So we're only $7 away from our first tiered reward on the stream today. Thank you. Also, I just got a super chat from a guitar player. Thank you, guitar player, for the super chat. Appreciate that. Let's get that up there, and then we'll jump into this doc. Just a reminder, for those of you here live, this is going to be a marathon, but for those watching on demand after the fact, these are going to be like hour-long videos that I'm going to upload kind of slowly over the week. So you'll probably see about an hour of content a day on this documentary. That way it's a kind of a, you know, not too much in all at once, but at the same time, the longer videos you make on YouTube, the higher problems they have with processing. So I only want to do an hour at most each video. So, okay. Here we go.
Jared Knobbenbauer's first video on his YouTube channel has a quality that is unrivaled by virtually any other content creator starting content, where it is common for such a video to flop as the content creator learns how to optimize themselves and the content to make something that is easier to watch. That's because, while it is the first visible video on his channel, it was not the first video he ever uploaded.
By the way, 887,000 subscribers. Wow. Very nice. That's very respectable. I don't know if that's the modern screenshot of his channel, but awesome. Way better than I ever did.
It was a culmination of previous successes and experiences that brought on the skills needed to make his channel a success. Like his experience in high school in the early 2000s, where he picked up novice editing skills, or his gravitation towards improv and theater that drew him in front of the camera.
That's awesome, and I wish, I hate to say this, I was always interested in that kind of stuff, but when I went to school, it was the 2000, I graduated from high school. None of that was available. I learned as much as I could in computer science class, which was basically like, I'm serious, like Microsoft Word. You know, they didn't have professional editing or anything in school back then. None of that existed. I would have loved to get some kind of knowledge of that. Lucky for him, apparently they had it. So he basically had kind of a head start on that. When I had to, anything I ever learned, I learned on my own, in my own free time.
Experiences like these translated well into his mid-20s, working as a manager at GameStop in the mid-2000s. This inspired him and a couple of friends to create the short-lived web series known as Name Tags. Popular around this time was the show Scrubs,
Scrubs,
a sort
it's
of
a
medical
parody of that.
comedy drama following the lives of medical interns turned doctors. This was a clear inspiration for this show. With Jared taking the role of lead actor, he played the role of Jared, the employee of a game store. As typical for this era of content creation and for a larger scale project involving multiple friends playing the many roles in a experimental game show, this, with some popularity, served more for the crew to gain experience in online content creation in a time where gamer culture was more niche, with other media like the webcomic Control-Alt-Delete taking hold and still has some relevance with the infamous
Oh, yeah, of course. Here we go. Most people don't know this, that he's about to say, here.
lost sequence. Like
Control-Alt-Delete, and didn't Control-Alt-Delete eventually become or get involved with, because I used to read this comic. I used to read this online in the 2000s. What was the other one that became the conventions now, right? Why on earth am I having a brain fart? By the way, I have a tip I have to shout out here. What is the one? What is the giant convention circuit that's all over the country now? That's gaming conventions. Penny Arcade, thank you. Yes, Penny Arcade. I actually used to read Penny Arcade as well. And this in the mid 2000s, there was no video culture online. There was no video sharing services. So gaming culture was like web comics. If you could find a meme or a web series, it didn't exist like it did today. It was definitely a much different culture, much more fringe, not mainstream at all. Okay, so I received a $7 tip. Just an anonymous $7 tip. Thank you, whoever that was. That's gonna, I believe, get us to our first tips goal for the day. So I'll just pop on my my Gunner glasses here. Thank you so much, whoever that was. And then we will roll on. Our next goal is at 100. If we hit that, you guys get to vote on a silly hat for me to wear here live on stream. Okay, thank you for that. Okay. There we go. What is it? I guess this is supposed to be a serious webcomic. It looks like it's about like maybe a miscarriage or something. That's the vibe I get from it. I don't know. I don't remember. I think I probably read this back in the day. I think these webcomics were supposed to be reminiscent of the actual artist's life, like things happening in their life, right? Okay. All right. Let's continue.
this comic, many of these sub-10-minute long name tag episodes age just as gracefully, and were inoffensive products of their time.
Princess Zelda, Mai Shinrai of King of Fighters, and Sung Mina of Soul Calibur.
Very nice. 3 game chicks you would not have sex with.
Ooh. Melina from Mortal Kombat. Any of the Draenei chicks from World of Warcraft. And Chun-Li.
Really? Not Chun-Li?
Oh yeah. You see, as amazingly hot as Chun-Li is, her massive, powerful...
Why did he just happen to have a picture of Chun-Li to show off during this answer? I always carry a picture of Chun-Li in my back pocket just in case someone asks me this question. Here it is.
thighs would crush any man like a vice.
Wow.
Come on, Chun-Li.
What the hell is this? Oh. Wow. Well, let's just say he was not afraid to get himself out there in his early days of content creation. Wow. Alrighty then.
Worst pain ever. Or the best.
As for hosting these
Oh my
videos,
God.
this is where the website and company ScrewAttack comes into play. Its own story is quite an interesting one.
Here we go.
ScrewAttack was a website that launched in 2006, hosting the audio-only video game podcast Side Scrollers. But it was expanding and sending various cold emails out, hoping to work with other websites. That's when they got the opportunity to produce a new style of content within a very short amount of time. What they came up with was a top 10 gaming themed video that was uploaded to GameVideos.com. and it went viral to where it garnered the attention of the Game Trailers website.
Yes.
That turned into a long-lasting partnership, producing top 10s and other video game-related content.
For a very long time.
Beyond producing their own content, ScrewAttack was taking on partners like the Angry Nintendo Nerd,
Yep.
known now as the Angry Video Game Nerd, Larry Bundy Jr., and the Nostalgia Critic. But it being in the earlier days of online content creation, no one was making money until that partnership with Game Trailers. But still, ScrewAttack did not make any money from content creators like the Angry Video Game Nerd, as the pseudo deal that was worked out was that ScrewAttack would benefit from him via promotion, and of course, to keep uploading something original every day. A feat that is normal by today's standards, but quite difficult and commendable back then.
That was actually their tagline, was something new every freaking day. I remember that. One day it would be an Angry Video Game Nerd. One day it would be a top 10. One day it would be their podcast. Then the next day it would be a skit. So one new video every day. Today, like, so many content creators do this. But back then it was so unique to be pulling that off. Right. Purple Pickle did a super chat. He was the actor of Chun-Li in the bed scene. That's interesting. Really? Would ProJared actually corroborate that? Thank you for the super chat. I don't know. Anyway. Very nice. I don't know if I would take credit for that. I'm just saying. We have hit 100 likes too. Wow, guys, you're already being incredibly supportive. I really appreciate this. Every time we hit 100 likes on any of my channels, we do a celebratory bubble blow. It's very silly. In fact, you know what? How about this? How about a full screen bubble blow for you guys? Since I'm so appreciative of you guys coming and chilling with me here today on this fun special React event. Here we go. Derek is loving the channel, thinks it's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Here we go. Wow, that was a long one. That was a lot of bubbles. Sweet. HD 1080p bubbles. You don't get those usually on my other channels. There you go. So if we hit 200 likes today, I'll do it again. Thank you, guys. All right, let's continue. By the way, viewership is outstanding. Thank you, guys. I was not expecting to see this level of buy-in for the first event. I hope you guys are enjoying. Let's continue. Thank you.
Even with all this attention, earning enough money for ScrewAttack was a big problem that persisted for quite some time.
I'm sure.
To fill me in on the details, I was able to interview co-founder Sterling Craig, who shined a light to the difficulties of running the company.
Cool.
YouTube was not a place that was you could make money. It was more used as like a billboard.
Right. Back then, okay, we're talking 2000 still. We're not even in the 2010s yet. You could not monetize any gameplay on YouTube. If you tried, YouTube would reject it. So if you're a gaming group, you can't do anything on YouTube. It's just you would advertise your content there, but you'd want to bring them somewhere else where you could somehow monetize that content, because YouTube was not profitable for gamers at that time. It wasn't until either late 2010 or 2011 when YouTube allowed you to start fully monetizing your gameplay. And even then, you had to have a partnership network that would vouch for you so that if anything happened with content ID or getting sued for that content under fair use, they would back you. So yeah, they were doing their own thing independently elsewhere. All right, I'm gonna play
for ScrewAttack. So yeah, it was such a different time, and ScrewAttack, we very rarely made money on an annual basis, because none of us made any money every year. Like, I made $35,000 the first 10 years of ScrewAttack.
10 years.
Like, I made nothing, and you know, so, and I'm the head of the company, right? So pretty much all the money that was coming in was going to pay everybody.
YouTube, especially in around 2008, the time name tags was being uploaded to ScrewAttack, was not at all a place to earn revenue, and more so a website to be used for promotion. As Craig tells it, revenue streams come from other popular websites. With ScrewAttack establishing the presence, it established other gaming-related shows like Top 10s relating to gaming content, and Gaming Vault that were videos covering all the titles of varying popularity. When venturing into this new and unknown style of content creation, experimentation with different shows was as necessary as it was expected for companies like ScrewAttack to grow. But it expanded beyond that. Through an admittedly impulsive decision, ScrewAttack opened a game store under the name of GameAttack.
Oh, really?
Mimicking the theme of ScrewAttack, it was a game store stocked with retro games and accessories.
I didn't know about that.
Like its products, the store was outdated in the sense that gaming transactions were happening in large scale digitally. A trend that usually turns investors away from erecting physical game stores.
Oh, so what he's saying is they were trying to start an independent game store at a time when a lot of the games were going digital, and therefore maybe that's why it failed. I didn't even know that. Okay.
As unfavorable towards the market as this decision was, it played a role in getting Jared officially on the ScrewAttack payroll.
Huh.
With Jared's existing ties with ScrewAttack and his experience in managing a game store, it was a perfect fit, and where he could both manage the store and produce content as an official employee under ScrewAttack. This partnership furthered his experience in all departments of content creation. Another important aspect is that with his increased in front of camera presence from the late 2000s to the early 2010s, he was building a small viewer base and establishing important relationships with other retro gaming content creators like Peanut Butter Gamer that collaborated with Jared regularly. A common trope among retro reviewers that is often poked fun at is that their videos will lean towards covering universally hated games, wherein the creators will really dramatize the effect the
Sonic
perceived game had on them. Some creators will openly seek out the most infamous games that will always provide a torturous experience. Others get their passion from discovering these titles and develop history and therefore a story with games that sour their views on that game or it.
Palpatine says, can I get a pet rattlesnake for 1 million subs? First of all, I doubt I'll ever get 1 million subs. And secondly, no, I don't want a rattlesnake. Chris, do you really have to use that full name? You idiot. Chris says, what did you place at Iron Man of Gaming? I made top 10. No, I made top 8. But then I got eliminated first round in the finals because it was DuckTales, the remake. And I didn't know where any of the treasure was. And the whole challenge was, get treasure. Oops, it wasn't survive or get far in the game. It was find the treasure. Oops, I don't know where the hidden treasure is, so I kind of got screwed there. But
Its entire
yes, I do think that June the King has a good narrator voice. I like it.
Franchise. Such was the case with Jared and the fantasy action role-playing game Two Worlds that was released on the Xbox 360.
Worlds.
This was marketed as a competitor to the Elder Scrolls series.
Really?
To that, it promised much, but delivered very little.
You saw what it said? The world is 25% larger than Oblivion. It said that. Great.
Its poor quality is something any player could pick up on very quickly, but few could develop such a hatred for it as Jared. Even in his series name tags, the game is regularly referenced for how terribly designed it is.
Waiting all year for this. Saving my vacation.
Mario 64 music.
Right. Well, since both of you are here, I want to show you something. We need to boost sales, so push a game that you have a ton of copies of. Like this.
We have a lot of copies of that because the game sucks.
Not necessarily. It's all in how you sell it.
Mario Paint music. Oh, dude, Mario Paint music is great.
Chad.
Hey,
What can I do for you today, sir?
I need a new game until the Lego Halo comes out.
That's not a real game. It was an April Fool's joke.
Nintendo Halo?
No way. I saw pictures of it on the internet.
Oh, you like Halo, huh? Have you played this?
What is that?
It's called Two Worlds. Think Halo with magic.
Halo with magic. You know, it was weird because back then, all right, I really do feel there was a distinct disconnect between people who played mainstream console games like Halo and the rest of the gaming community. Like, there were friends of mine who they weren't into like RPGs, they weren't into horror games, they weren't into fighting games, but they were into Halo. Like, Halo became the mainstream gamer game that you would buy an Xbox just for Halo, and you would just sit there and play Halo. Think how today we have people who just play Madden. They just play Call of Duty, right? There were people back then who would just play Halo, and that was all they played. That was all they even knew of games. They just thought, oh, gaming's Halo, bro. So it became this, like, stereotype. The Halo bro. That's all they played. That's all they knew. And so, oh, you want to convince them to play a game? Tell them it's like Halo. Or, you know, it's funny because this makes sense. I mean, it's obviously stupid and over the top stereotype. At the same time, this kind of makes sense. So people probably would actually have been this dumb to actually just, like, buy a game saying that it's like Halo. Darjak says, I wonder if they pulled that from people saying Fallout 3 is Oblivion with guns. Same premise, right?
I'll take it.
You destroyed the credit card machine. There you go.
That would have been the extent for Jared's hatred of this game, if not for the insulting action that was the announcement of a sequel. Two Worlds 2 was announced about 3 years since the first game's release. So in an effort to deter buyers and once again display his hatred on a grander scale, Jared, who actually created a YouTube channel under the name of DM Jared back in November of 2006.
DM Jared? Like District Manager Jared? Like he thought he was like the manager of a game store, maybe?
As a future host for the NameTag series, repurposed it under the name ProJared, that is short for Professional Jared, as that's how he wanted to conduct his reviews. Fueled by hatred, ProJared uploaded
like
a review.
Pro review, Two World, like pro review, not one of those casual reviews. This is a pro review.
For Two Worlds 1 on September 17, 2010. The unfortunate circumstance was that Two Worlds 2 was being delayed. An action that decreased the relevance to his Two Worlds 1 review.
I see.
As for the review itself, it set a format of telling a story about trouble areas in the development process of the games or other warnings prior to release. Then the video transitions to the opening and the unfolding of frustrations caused by the game, often refocusing back to Jared, where he tells the joke in form of a criticism or the rare compliment.
The problem is that Gandohar doesn't know where the keys are. Luckily, he has a contact that does, and he points me in his direction.
They call him Ho.
What?
They call him Ho.
You've got to be kidding me. His name is Ho? I didn't realize Gandohar was a pimp of male prostitutes, I guess, but his name is Ho? Even your main character doesn't believe it.
And the whereabouts of the last 3 parts are known to whom? I told you.
I told you. Ho. His name is Ho.
Gandohar's bottom bit.
Hold on, because I got some idiots in the chat. Let me take care of this quick. Here we go. So I'm being told Two Worlds 1 was a 2007 game. Two Worlds 2 came out in 2010. It was supposed to come out in 2009, but it got delayed, and that's what they're saying. His review for Two Worlds 1 was to come out around 2009, 2010, but then the sequel was delayed, so it wasn't pertinent. Okay.
Who is nearby the village of Windbreak.
A format not so unique to him, but really belonging to this genre of game reviewers in general.
Right.
Something that did stand out a bit, that took on larger noticeability later, was the plastering of his face on the thumbnail that takes up the left third of it.
Oh, so he was one of the first person who did that? Wow, no way. Because that became the standard. Like, that's literally the standard on YouTube. You must have your face on the thumbnail. I have my face on the thumbnail for this stream. Everyone has to do it, you know? And he was one of the first people to do it over 11, 12. I mean, now it's just 11, but this was 2010, so this was 13 plus years ago. That's interesting. Oops.
For now, its prior evolution of a picture of Jared disappointingly holding a game was the standard for his videos. These ProJared reviews that were sparsely uploaded to his channel took on the form of a hobby, with his position at ScrewAttack remaining as his priority. Fast forward to 2012, with the channel ProJared having a little over 100,000 total views and a few thousand subscribers, showed potential for growth but lacked any promise of success. The safe and almost necessary path was to remain at ScrewAttack as a presenter for gaming news. If it was not the perk of full creative control over a project, it may have been the pay that encouraged Jared to continue uploading. As Craig tells it, ScrewAttack for nearly 10 years and succeeding via rising view counts in the millions per month did not translate nearly as well as they do today in terms of revenue. Even Craig as CEO had difficulty earning even a living wage for much of his time there.
Again, if they're not if they're not with a partner company, and if they're not able to monetize their YouTube videos that have gameplay in them, you're barely making anything on YouTube at all. So likely either third party. I remember the ScrewAttack videos were on ScrewAttack.com. Some of the videos were on GameTrailers.com. Like each week they had a top 10 or something like that. So they probably, out of all the content they were putting out, they're probably only monetizing a little bit of it. And I wonder, I would be interested to ask them, where were they making their money? If there wasn't the monetization model, how were they profitable? He's saying he barely made any money. Where was even that little bit of money they were making? Where was it coming from, right? Huh.
It's arguable that an extremely successful channel can out-earn the pay at ScrewAttack, but its wages bring up two problems in Jared's scenario. First is that if he left ScrewAttack, he'd be lacking necessary savings for the many unprofitable months while he developed his channel. Secondly was the high chance of failure. Earning money via YouTube is a two-sided coin based purely on performance. Pay fluctuates tremendously, and unless you are in the upper percentage of content creators, you will rarely have stability like you would earning under an employer, especially when running such an undeveloped channel such as Jared's that was full of random streams, let's plays, reviews, and skits.
And again, this is why I say to you guys what a rarity I am, because I don't have giant viewership. I'm not an upper echelon of YouTube, but I'm here after 15 years of being a YouTuber. I'm still here making a living doing it. Why? Because I've been around so long that I have a dedicated viewer base and fan base that likes what I do, and they crowdfund me. That's literally the only reason. It's not because I have sponsors. It's not because I'm popular. It's because people love the curated level of content I make for them specifically, and then they reciprocate. And that's why I'm so grateful to all of you who are along for this journey, whether you've been over on DSP Gaming all this time, whether you're now a newcomer to DSPReacts and you're supporting this channel. Thank you so much. If it wasn't for you guys and your support, I wouldn't be able to do what I love for a living. I have to do something else, right? But for him, back then, my God, to say I have a stable job that's paying some money, and I have to leave that to try to become an independent creator, especially around 2012, that was a tumultuous time. That was a time when a lot of people were jumping into that realm, and there was a lot more competition than there had ever been before with high production value. There was actually people in 2012 jumping into YouTube and saying, I'm going to go into this with expertise, know-how, a budget, and a team of people, and we're going to make a concerted effort to start a business on YouTube. Well, but previous to that, it had always been, you just have talent and you have passion, you could do it. But it really, at 2012 was actually when it started to get very difficult to become successful. So that must have been a really tough decision for him to say, I'm consistently known on ScrewAttack, people like me, my work I'm getting paid for, and now I'm going to try to break out and be independent. I think that has to be very much respected, and the fact that apparently he was successful is to be, applauded.
The average viewer would not be certain what they would be subscribing to. But if not for this experiment...
Oh, DM stands for Dungeon Master. Dungeon Master Studios, ProJared. So DM was Dungeon Master Jared. I think Derek was telling me that in the chat earlier. Okay. There you go.
And casting a larger net of content, he would not have gotten his big break in late 2012. It was not his reviews, let's plays, or anything of the like that got him notoriety, but a sub 2-minute video titled How to Make Slender Not Scary.
7 million
As
video
simple
views.
as this video of Jared telling jokes in the form of instructions was.
Tip number 5, turn on the lights. Oh, this ain't so bad.
Because of the game he was covering, it hit the YouTube algorithm just right. Within a month, his total views flew to over 1 million.
Wow.
His Slender video responsible for 3/4 of it.
Wow.
A month after that, it was up from 700,000 to 1.7 million views. So in 2 months' time, because of this video, he went from 5K subs to 20,000.
So, I mean, I tell you guys all the time about the YouTube algorithm and how important it is. And a lot of people say, Phil, no, you don't understand. One video going viral can be the make or break success story for an entire channel. This is what happened with my KO Gaming channel in 2016. I was kind of floundering for a while, and then all of a sudden I did my review of, what was it? Homefront the Revolution. And that game was so bad, I made a review slamming it, and that video got over 1 million views within like a week, and my channel went from like a few thousand subs to over 20,000. And then every video after that was getting tens of thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of views. Literally, that's the YouTube algorithm, how it works. If you hit that algorithm right, if you get that level of success, all of a sudden, you can ride it. As long as you keep to that formula you hit that algorithm, you see? So he basically got lucky. It sounds like he was trying and wasn't successful. And then this one video, boom, hits the algorithm. And now all of a sudden, overnight success.
More promising launch point if he wanted to go solo. Though at the time, he preferred working at ScrewAttack. But it was now the only viable decision to make when he, in late 2012, was fired from ScrewAttack.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. I did not know he was fired. This is interesting. Why was he fired from ScrewAttack in 2012?
ScrewAttack audience learned about this on Jared's last appearance on the ScrewAttack news show Hard News.
Yeah, see, he was
this last story
he was the host of Hard News, the daily news show. I'd stopped watching it a couple years prior. All right, let's see what happens here.
Going to be something of a surprise. Today is my last day at ScrewAttack.com. And I know this is sudden, and I apologize for not easing you into it. The reason why is that I've been doing some personal side projects for some time now, and recently they've been doing really, really well, and it's been getting me a lot of attention. And as such, I've been putting a lot more energy into them. And with that, Craig recognized that my goals and ambitions do not line up with the future of ScrewAttack, which led him to this decision. And he's right. The plans I have with my own projects mean I can't give as much as I normally do to the company. But understand this. There is no hate. There is no animosity. There is no drama. It was a mutual agreement that it's time for me to move on. And I want to thank all the wonderful friends I've made working here, and every...
A mutual agreement is not being fired, just so you know. It's, you're out. You know, that's not a mutual agreement. A mutual agreement would be like he quit. And Craig's like, okay. Nah, oh, you're fired. It's completely different. I think he's definitely sugarcoating this.
Single person who has ever shown me a tremendous amount of support. And I still need your support. If you want to continue to follow my antics...
What's funny is you see the studio behind him. It's kind of nice how they had those big screens behind with the layout on the wall and everything. But it's funny that the audio doesn't sound very good, right? Like, I would say the audio is kind of echoey, but it's like a nice professional set. I always wanted something like that, a nice professional set. I don't know if I'll ever have it. I'm kind of happy with what I got now. I actually like the visuals I got behind me now. Okay. No, it's not CGI. That's real behind him. That's not CGI.
Open up a second window right now in your browser. Go to youtube.com/DMJared. That's where you'll find everything that I'm doing right now. You can still follow me on Twitter, of course, at ProJared. And I actually have my own Facebook fan page that you can also like, facebook.com/pro.jared. And I may not be gone forever. I may still show up for Mario Party After Dark.
Spoiler, he was gone forever. Actually, I think there really was no animosity because, like I said, I know for a fact at ScrewAttack Gaming Convention 2013, he was there as a featured guest. So obviously there must not have been animosity because why would Craig have had him back at his own convention if he was pissed at him, right?
Who knows? But today is my last day. And I've said this hundreds of times, at least, but I feel like today it has more meaning than it ever has before. I'm Jared, and that was Hard News. Thank you.
Commenters may lament Jared's departure from the channel, not realizing that this decision actually increased his online presence,
right,
with what seems to be an attempt to upload multiple videos a week. As for ScrewAttack, as Craig tells it, Jared always had an issue melding with his coworkers, and his timidness, and how at times him publicly speaking ill of the company and his overall abrasiveness made him a less favorable employee to work with.
Jared, I liked him more when I didn't see him all the time.
Wow.
When he was around the office, you know, everything started great. He had his little clique that he had. Him and he hung out with mostly like Lauren and Sean throughout the day.
I don't know who the hell they are. This was after my time of watching ScrewAttack, so I don't know who they are.
And they were kind of the news team. ScrewAttack was doing news at the time, and that's where Jared started doing Hard News. But he was a big introvert, and he just did not like being around there. And
that pen throw thing, that's from SNL, dude. That was from SNL. They do the nightly news show or whatever every week, and sometimes certain hosts would throw the pen. He copied that off SNL.
See, I don't think anybody would say they really enjoyed being around him.
Wow.
During that time, he really separated himself from the team. He would go home and post on social media about, you know, things we would talk about in our meetings on a day-to-day basis, and talk about how he never wants to hear these words again, and blah blah blah. And you know, I have guys on my team, the ScrewAttack team, who are like, hey, have you seen these things that Jared's posting? And it's like, you know, it's one of those things where if anybody posts that stuff about your company online, you get fired for it. You know?
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, I mean, then again, here's the thing. All right, I guess we should address something at this point. All right, social media. In the last decade to 15 years, social media has become this huge thing where now, today, we realize things that we say and do on social media that we can end up being held accountable. But we're talking, this was 2012, so it was 11 years ago. Even me, like back then, I didn't even see a reason for social media. My viewers convinced me eventually to get a Twitter in like 2010, even though I didn't want one. I had a Facebook. I never used it. I didn't feel like there was a use for it. But kind of back then, it was like, who cares about this crap? You know, just say whatever you want to say. And, you know, it's just a joke. But the funny part about this is, it sounds to me like this is a guy who, I don't know, from what Craig is saying, it almost sounds to me like Jared thinks he's better than ScrewAttack, right? Like if you listen, I mean, what you got to do is you got to read behind the lines here. And what it sounds like is that he was doing his own independent stuff and it wasn't taking off. So he jumped on board with ScrewAttack to try to get some mainstream notoriety from a site that was already established. He became the host of this news show. The news show was popular, hard news. People liked him as the host. But he basically wanted to do, I mean, he's separating himself from his other coworkers. He's not involving himself in other content. At the time, I can tell you from the days I watched ScrewAttack, the mentality they portrayed to the internet was they're all this group of friends who just do silly things every day and make videos. It sounds to me like he was not part of that group. He was just the guy to do the news and he's out of there because he's more focused on his own stuff. And hey, if he can make it doing his own stuff, that's what he wants. But really, the only way he can make a paycheck right now is ScrewAttack. You see? That's kind of what I'm understanding from you know, again, reading between the lines here. That's kind of what I'm getting. The fact that people, the only time I liked him was when I didn't see him. That's telling. Like people just didn't like the guy. I mean, how disgruntled was he about working at ScrewAttack? And if you're in a company meeting and you're getting company secrets or behind the scenes company happenings being told to you, you can't post that publicly. I mean, that's against any company's policy. And maybe because they were this independent gaming company, he felt that maybe that wasn't the case. You know, any corporation, you go into a meeting, right? And you go into a meeting and you get company secrets about new deals that are going to happen with your company and everything. And then you go and you talk about that publicly, you're going to get into massive trouble. That's supposed to be kept just behind closed doors. Even emails, like company emails, they'll say at the bottom, disclaimer, this is only supposed to be distributed within the company. This is not allowed to go outside or whatever. So if he's going on, you know, social media and he's saying things like, you know, oh, I don't like working there. I don't like the people there. I never want to hear this again. You know what I'm saying? Like all this stuff, that's bad. And it almost sounds like that's really what happened because he's saying, oh, my goals were different from ScrewAttack's, and we've mutually decided. That sounds like bullshit. That sounds like he wanted to do his own independent stuff. It didn't take off, wasn't making him money. ScrewAttack's the only way he can make money, but he's not happy that he's there. He wishes he could be doing his own independent shit. So he's down talking the company constantly. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of crazy because I didn't know any of this. You know, I didn't know he had a falling out. The weird thing about all this is, I guess they still had a good relationship because, like I said, he was at ScrewAttack Gaming Convention as a featured guest in 2013. So, I guess despite the fact that they had the falling out, Derek, excuse me. I say Derek because people are talking about Derek and trying to get me distracted here. Please ignore that nonsense. It sounds like Craig decided to be the bigger man and be like, even though, you know, we had this falling out and I don't want you working for me anymore, I'd still like to have you back to promote your stuff at the convention. To be honest, when I went to ScrewAttack Gaming Convention 2013, they were acting like Jared was like a god. I'm not shitting you. When he walked around, he had fans following him around. His panel apparently was hugely attended. Like, people were acting like this guy, like he was a giant celebrity. And at that point, I didn't even know who he was. I was like, who is this guy? You know? My channel and everything at that point was much bigger than his, was much more popular than his. But I was like small potatoes at ScrewAttack Gaming Convention because that was a situation where they all knew who he was and they were going just to see him. It was like the isolated situation where he was like the big shit, you know? But I just find it funny that he's fired and he's spinning it like it was mutual. But from everything Craig is telling me, definitely that was not the case, right? It sounds like he was disgruntled. He didn't want to be there and it was all against his will. But again, all we can do is speculate. We're basing off of what we're hearing here in the documentary, right? Let's see here. All right, we got another. I'm just gonna ignore this. I'm just gonna ignore a lot of idiots trying to troll. Just gonna ignore it. Okay. We're almost at the point where I'm gonna split the part. Let's go a little bit longer here, and then, like I said, we're gonna split this into hour-long segments. Let's go a little longer before we split. Here we go.
And you know, Jared was really funny. Obviously, he's super talented, right? He's super talented. He's
sounds like he's creative, because if he was the head writer of a whole show and everything, it takes a lot of work. Let me tell you, from the stuff that I've done over the years, it takes a lot of work to be able to write a creative show. I know, because I tried and I failed. I failed. My show was not very good. It was really a lot of my creators, you know, that did a lot of the work. That was funny. It's, you know, you think you're so funny in your own content, and the moment you try to break out and do something else, it doesn't work, right? So, okay.
He has this weird, like, charisma to him that people gravitate to. But he's also a jerk, and I think he'll tell you he's a jerk. And that didn't really fit.
You heard him. He's a jerk. Wow. Everyone around him thought his attitude was he was a jerk. Wow.
Kind of what we were doing. And eventually it was just time for him to go.
A talented jerk.
So I fired him. And, you know, he was pissed about it. He didn't want to be, you know, it's like at a certain point when you say all this stuff about the company you work for, you know, the hammer's going to drop. But I fired him and offered him unemployment. He said he didn't want it. And that was legitimately the last time I ever spoke to him.
As harsh as these words may be, there is little to no resentment from either party. ScrewAttack will later go on to be purchased by Fullscreen.
Now here's the thing, hold on. Craig just said that was the last time I ever heard from him, but he was a guest at ScrewAttack Gaming Convention in 2013. So that doesn't sound right to me. That doesn't sound like the whole story. At all. That sounds like a part of the story. Yeah, I don't know about that. Okay, so Fullscreen. For those who don't know, Fullscreen was one of the big partnership networks back in the day on YouTube. There was Machinima, there was Fullscreen, there was Screenwave, there was Maker Studios. There's probably like 5 or 6 big partnership companies on YouTube. And Fullscreen was by far one of the largest. So maybe they felt they needed to be purchased outright in order to make a profit because they weren't profitable enough on YouTube. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. No, Swagonito, I'm 1,000,000% sure. ProJared was the featured guest at ScrewAttack Gaming Convention 2013. He had his own panel. He had tons of fans there. I saw him personally being followed around by them. That 1,000,000%. It's weird because this documentary makes it sound like they had a huge falling out and never involved themselves again. That's not the case. So.
Paired with Rooster Teeth, where ScrewAttack was made a brand under Rooster Teeth.
Right.
As the years progressed for the company, Craig tells a tale of how creative control was stripped away with the increasing difficulty of producing content in exchange for stability in the form of income.
All right, so Fullscreen acquired us, and then they acquired Rooster Teeth, and then Fullscreen paired us together, and they made ScrewAttack a brand under Rooster Teeth.
Ugh, not good.
Full transparency, that was the worst 3 years of my life.
There you go.
Just professionally.
Yep. He probably, I guarantee you, he didn't even say it yet. Lost all the control. Forced to do stuff he didn't want to do, didn't have the creativity or the means to do what he wanted to do, was told to do things he didn't want to do, had to focus on projects he didn't want to work on. That's exactly what happens. When you get bought out, and I bet you when they bought him out, they never told him he was going to be part of Rooster Teeth. They probably told him, oh yeah, I'll be under our umbrella, and the next thing you know, oh, by the way, now you work for Rooster Teeth. Like, wait, what? We didn't even agree to that. This is what happens with this shit. It's bad, man.
I'd gone from, there are a number of reasons why. Number one was you go from having total creative freedom to essentially having, I had to get like 7 signatures to get anything done.
I swear to God, I didn't watch, look, you can see I didn't watch this documentary yet. I told you, that's what happens, man. This reminds me, when I worked for that helicopter company, Helicopter Support, that was my job before I became a YouTuber. While I was working there, they got bought out by a bigger company. As soon as they got bought out by the bigger company, everything changes, all the fun ends, everything's run differently, and everyone hates it. Everyone who works at the company, what happened? We changed. This is what happens every time, man.
Rooster Teeth. Now, Rooster Teeth, they obviously have had tremendous success over their time, and they have
actually. Look at that. Look below. There's a documentary by June the King about Rooster Teeth. Apparently, they're falling apart too. So yeah, they were successful, but even doesn't last forever. I haven't seen that one yet. Maybe something potentially for the future. Okay.
of getting things done. There's a method to their madness, which has worked for them. But for us, we went in working with Rooster Teeth as kind of the unknown.
Right.
They didn't know us. We didn't know them. And then we're a brand.
They have a way of doing things. Like I said, when I used to watch ScrewAttack, it felt like a family of gamers, people who were all friendly, and all they wanted to do was get together every day and put out fun content. If they made money on it, great, but it was just a party atmosphere. I guarantee you the moment they started working for Rooster Teeth, that all changed. It was just, everything's ultra professional, everything, you know what I mean? And it probably ruined the whole vibe, and no one cared, no one liked the job anymore.
Their company. So the people who are making decisions for us, they don't know our voice and they don't know our audience.
Yep.
Right. So how can people who don't know your voice, don't know your audience, be expected to make decisions for your voice and audience? It doesn't make any sense at all.
Craig would eventually...
And how much you want to bet they made no effort to learn their voice or audience either. That's what happens. Everything sports coverage that a super chat says the Rooster Teeth video is actually a very good one. Thank you. Maybe that's a potential one for the future. We will be talking later today after this react is done. We'll be talking about what you guys would like to see for my next big scale react. Maybe that's a good one. See if I can fit this. Does that fit on the leaderboard or is it too long now? Narrowly. All right, cool. We're going to split the part in a sec. Let's just get to the end of this part with Craig.
And the history of ScrewAttack in the form of its earlier videos are now wiped from the internet in replacement for its most popular series, Death Battle. But that is a story for another time.
I wonder if he will ever cover the history of ScrewAttack, because what ended up happening was when ScrewAttack was bought out, then they became under Rooster Teeth, but eventually what happened was they got rid of it all. Everything's gone, and the only thing that was retained was this series called Death Battle, and everything else was removed. All their history is gone from the internet. Only people who archived the videos by themselves years ago still have access to them. They deleted everything. How can you, just think about that. So you want to buy out our company, you tell us you have good intentions, and you want us to succeed and grow. Within a few years, you've destroyed the company, you only kept one series, and you erased our history. Wow. That was I think I know why Craig says those are the 3 worst years of his life. I think I understand. That's pretty messed up. At least, I am so lucky in a lot of ways that I've been able to keep doing this for a living and actually not had to get bought out or had to answer to any kind of a controlling leader or sponsor or anything like that. I can do my own thing. My content remains on the internet indefinitely. I mean, can you imagine? I have a 15-year history on YouTube. Can you imagine if I got bought out by someone and they said, oh, we're deleting all your content today? Like, what? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is part 1 of DSP Reacts to the story of ProJared. As you can see, we've gotten through 20 minutes, so there's still an hour left. I get the feeling this is going to be a long react. I hope that you've enjoyed this part. If you had, and you're watching this on demand on DSP Reacts on YouTube, if you could like the video, leave comments on it, let me know your thoughts. How do you like the style? How do you like the content? Do you have comments on the content of the documentary? Please share. That's going to help this channel tremendously. And hey, again, if you want to support this channel in the biggest way, please consider becoming a member today. That would help a lot. Or maybe a super thanks on the video, or maybe a tip if you look at the description of the video. Thanks for all of that, all right? I'm going to split it here. We're going to come back with part 2. Thanks for watching. See you in a bit.